like 10 people in here.
All right, well, let's just see how many people we got. This is Trusty's Vintage Deep Dive going live with Harry Humstone from Harry Humstone. I don't actually know. Do you have a channel name beyond Harry Humstone, Harry?
No, that's it. Just
all right.
That name goes way back.
You have one name's enough. You don't need to confuse things. So we've got Harry Humstone from Harry Humstone, and we are going to be talking to Harry about insulators and doing the vintage deep dive. Scheduling was really weird in 2021. I did so many in 2020, and then scheduling got in the way. I didn't do some for a while, and then all of a sudden I'm hitting them back to back. So last week we had longer burger baskets, and this week we're going a little bit different. We're going into insulators, but in both cases, it's something I know nothing about, and felt it was a good idea to have somebody who I've heard talk about insulators, picks them up all the time, shows them on his channel, and thought, hey, maybe Harry knows what an insulator is and is going to try and educate all of us, tell us what insulators are, what to be on the lookout for, and what to collect and what to avoid. So we've got a few people in the chat tonight. It's Mother's Day, and I will start out with, first I'll just say, for anyone joining us, happy Mother's Day. I will be the first to admit, when we were looking at our calendars and grabbing dates, didn't even cross my mind that tonight was Mother's Day. So hope Harry didn't take you away from anybody. Appreciate you giving your time. And for those of you joining live in the chat, happy Mother's Day to you and to yours. And if you are a mother yourself, well, maybe you're getting a break from your kids and joining this. And sometimes that's what motherhood's all about, taking some me time. So we've got Carrie's already in the house. We've got from Austin, Debbie from Chicago coming in, Katie from Florida coming in. So we've got some people who either are not celebrating right now for Mother's Day, or they've already done that. And in COVID, who knows what's going on, but appreciate everyone spending some time and coming in. And hopefully, just remember, it is a live chat. So if you have questions, I'll be monitoring them for Harry, and we'll try and cover as much as we can. We've got Amelia from Finland has come in. So getting late in the evening for you, Amelia. So I hope we're entertaining enough, and be interested. I don't know if Harry's going to be ready to talk about international insulators. I don't know what insulators look like in Finland compared to here. They're probably similar, but we'll see what ends up happening with that. Bree coming in the house. Rebel Junks coming in. Hello, Patrick and Harry. We got Brian coming in from the Chicagoland area. We got Chad. We got our first Terp in from Maryland. Force Annie coming in from Michigan. LaDonna, hey LaDonna, coming in from Omaha. Thanks for joining the chat. Cindy from Pennsylvania, and we got just jumped again. Val M. This is great. Oh, you collect insulators. So for all of you, either collect them or never even seen them before. Again, just make sure you're in you throw some questions in the chat, and we'll try and hopefully cover as much as we can. Ginger Girl Vintage in the house. Great. Glad you came to join us. Katie Sunshine, thanks so much for coming in. Victoria H is coming in. And Jersey Gypsy Corner Store. All right, we've got some new names coming in. So I think Harry's name has spread the world over. We are now covering Finland. So we've got them coming from all over the place to come and listen to the great Harry speak. So again, welcome, Harry Humstone. I'm going to start things out with the absolute fundamental basic question based on what our topic is tonight. What is an insulator? And if you can just kind of talk to us like we're all five and explain what an insulator is, then we'll kind of get into the details from there.
Well, after this chat, you're going to be probably more confused than when you started, but I will try to explain glass insulators. Even when I was a kid, telephone poles, railroad tracks, even on houses, they were still there, because I remember I'm from Jersey and originally going to the Jersey Shore, like Ocean City, New Jersey, or Sea Isle. There was always this, I think it was Smithville, and they had those telephone poles full of insulators, and I always wanted to stop. Let me stop and just try to get a couple, And I've collected all my life. Bottles and glass insulators were one of my first collections, and if you know me, you know I collect everything. I got like 10 collections, but insulators is my number one. I just bought a collection a couple weeks ago. So it all started with just the basics. that you get when you bottle dig or you find in the woods or streams or creeks. These, just your basic Dower insulator. They're no big deal. People are making, like I told Patrick earlier, and thank you, Patrick, for having me on, by the way, and happy Mother's Day to everybody out there. Tea lights, or they're popping holes in these and they're making light fixtures out of them. So your basics are Hemingways, Brookfields, and there's thousands of different numbers. This one's a 40. There's a 42. These are drip points. That was something to do with coming off the water, made it, I don't know what, but somebody came up with it. I'm not an expert on everything and every single number that's here, but I do know enough that I'm dangerous, and I've got a great eye for these, and you'll see what I'm talking about when you start seeing some of them I show you.
So backing up, you're saying that I didn't realize these would also have gone onto houses. So when they're installed on the top of a telephone or an electrical pole, or you said the local, the railway yards, how would they actually be installed? Like, what would be a full fitting? Like this, is this just attached straight to the wood, or attached straight to the house? How would they actually even have been used in their day?
I believe it had something to do. Remember the knob and tube wiring that a lot of places still have? Well, those telephone poles, then you'd have two wires coming over to that house, and there would be two insulators or a little ceramic jobber, which I think I had on mine, because I always used to look out the bathroom window to make sure there wasn't a glass one, because my neighbors had a couple of glass ones. And as kids, we actually went on a roof and took one off, and the one dude got shocked, but it was quick, and it blew the fuse in the stinking house, and it's lucky that he would have had that. And I don't know what was running in there, probably 220 or what's house is 125 or something, 126, whatever it takes. So that's what they had. But people climb trees for these and get into poles. They go up poles. It's crazy. And glass insulators still are very collectible. So there's a lot out there of people that are still collecting. And I watch YouTube and Instagram to watch. And there's kids coming in now, and they're walking the old tracks, and they're still finding them. So they're out there, but they're tough.
This may be a stupid question, but you drive through country roads. I'm on the edge of a rural area. You still see a lot of the old wooden telephone poles. Are these still in use, or have they pretty much all gone? Are they obsolete at this point? Have they been replaced by something else?
I think they're still in use in Pennsylvania. I think they're still in use in Ohio. If you get up in the Poconos and stuff, and Jim Thorpe, PA, there's poles and poles full of this stuff. Ceramic ones are in use. There's big ceramic ones. You can see them. Like the one you have, sort of that shape, are still used, because when I was hiking in New York, stayed up one of the hills in the Catskills, I was looking, and they're usually gray and brown, though. Yours is a little older, the lap one. And so... But that's
it's threaded on the bottom. So what would this have been threaded onto?
That would be onto something like this. We're going to have to move our. This is the old poles. I even have a pole in the house. That's how godly I am. I went to I'll tell that story later too, if we get time. But they screwed on just like this. There's metal. There's wood. He has both types. Here's a fancy ceramic one right there. So this, I went into a guy's house, and he was probably the largest collection I'll ever see in my lifetime, and this was in there. And I said, if one thing I'd like is that pole.
Now, before you put it back, how do the electrical lines, how do they wrap around that? Or
they wrapped around here. They wrapped around, and then they went. All this was a wrap around, and then into the box, into the house, transformer, whatever. Here was your wraparound. So I think this keeps them from sagging too. I would think. I don't know the total. I don't know the reason, but I'm thinking the wrap is definitely and then plug into because that's how they were at the houses.
So for something like this that actually has now the groove at the top too, would they have also been wrapped around, because it is kind of tapered, or would this one just have been used with the wire just sit?
I'm not quite sure what I'm thinking wrap, and they might have wrapped and then came over. That's a different, could have been a more flexible line. There's telegraph lines that had, everything had insulators at one time.
Okay.
Or even wood ones. So San Francisco had wood ones.
Oh, really?
Those. Yeah.
Is it a regional thing of what materials got used in different areas?
I don't think so. I think it's something to do with the fire afterwards. They did something with it was before the fire they had the wool ones, and after that, we're not going to use that anymore. I'm not sure, but I've seen those at that collector's house that I was, where I got that pole. So.
Excellent. A lot of people in the chat are commenting that they're still seeing them. Bluegrass Picker is saying that they're by the railroad tracks in Missouri, still in use in Pennsylvania. So yeah, I mean, it's one of those, I hadn't really thought about it because you see them in vintage stores, garage sales, whatever, that I always thought of it as a collectible, never really thinking that, hey, they're probably still they might still be in use. So good to know.
Yeah, you mentioned this thing took off for me really big because I started yard sailing again because I'm a big antique guy. I like old radios, Coleman lanterns, old bottles, old Hot Wheels, big stuff. And I went up to a house, and this really got me going because I sold my original collection to put a fence around my yard to keep my first dog in. So one day, I wanted it all back. So I go into a place, and this is in the box, with several others. I said, how much you want for each insulator? And he goes, $1 a piece. Well, that is a gem. Cobalt blue, that's the real McCoy too. This isn't a remake. People dye these. This is a real McCoy. And when I got it, I knew it was something. And I talked to a guy that collects insulators where I work, and he says, bring it in, bring it in, bring it in. And he would offer me so much for it each time. And I said, then you get the gem of my collection. So at yard sales, I'm starting to see them more and more, and I'm picking up more and more, and I'm getting bigger. And then,
so just really quick, I didn't mean to cut you off, but we have a question that came in from Katie of Vintage and Vinyl, and it's kind of related to what you had just said. She's seen uranium ones. So you were talking about them, either reproductions or people dying. I guess you're saying the clear ones. Is there a market for, are they truly reproduction ones, or are they just trying to doctor up the clear ones to make them more interesting?
They're these ones. They're Armstrongs. They're any clear ones they can get. And guess what? When they make them cobalt blue, they'll actually get $15, $20 a piece for them. So that's why they're doing it. But an insulator, somebody that's collecting this knows that's been dyed. It looks too good. I mean, you just can tell the color. Some of these at one time, these ones would hang, and the sun turned them purple, or people left them out to turn them purple. Something in the glass, white glass, will turn purple. Some of it will. So that's how they've had the sun bleach them. But bleaching the different colors, the dye colors they do now, that's just, you'll see them. They're all over eBay. So.
But then if it's uranium, assuming a black light lets it glow, were they made in uranium glass?
They might have been. I don't, you know what? I've never held a light up to them, but I did have one. I've had a couple that looked like uranium, but I've never put the old flashlight on them. I've never seen them. That's uranium glass there, of course. I've never seen them that color yet. So if I seen one, I'd probably grab it. I've got Pyrex, and that's like carnival glass. So I've got a couple of these. That's a.
And is that actually stamped Pyrex?
Yeah. Oh yeah, they're Pyrex. They made several. I've got several different ones, but there's a few clear, and then there's a few different of the carnival glass looking ones, which is carnival glass, and they come. Some of them are that big. So, and they're the bigger, the better in that case.
Will all of them be marked? Will they all have something molded into there to show the names?
No. Here's a nice one right here. That's a no name. That's kind of got like a pinkish tint to it. I don't know what this is, but this is one that I just acquired not too long ago. But that is something I have not seen. These are beehives, they're called. It's flawless, and that's rare to find too. A lot of insulators have some type of ding in them. You find the flawless ones, and you say, "Woo!" Yeah, I have two different type clear Pyrex ones myself.
Now, do those fall into the dollar insulator clear, or does the Pyrex name give them a little bit more value?
They might probably, you could probably get them up to maybe 2 to 5 in between there. They're not desirable. Now these ones go from up in the 40s, 50s, 60s.
Oh, okay.
This one being in the fantastic shape it's in.
What era are we in for that?
I would say the 30s.
Okay.
Well, most of those that I did read, a lot of your bulk is the 20s and 30s for the glass insulators when they're going crazy with, everybody's getting electric. They started on probably just the railroad tracks, and then it goes into your house, and the different types come and different colors with different lines. I do know that much. Somebody's line might have been cobalt blue. And somebody's line might have been this style. So these come, if you guys can see, there's some of the colors I brought out. Colors are big. So, and I have them. Mickey Mouse ears they're rare, and people like those. I have a couple. Then, like Patrick had his ceramic one, which is okay. There's a kind of like a cable one, Mickey Mouse ear. I just picked this one up. It has cable right on it. So. But then in that box, I acquired probably out of that collection maybe up to 50 ceramic ones, which I didn't. I just got them. I wouldn't go out of my way, but that's $100 insulator right there and that's porcelain or it's Thomas. That's porcelain or ceramic, whatever you want to call them. You can look them up either way. I don't know what determines that's a ceramic, that's porcelain, I think.
LaDonna has commented that she has a corkscrew one. Do you have one of those in your collection so we know what that looks like?
I do have that. It came on that telephone pole with one that looks just like this. I had 2 of those on there, and then I had the corkscrew. Corkscrew is that's a rare one. That's desirable. It's a couple $200 to $300 for one of those.
What dictates the value change the most? Is it the shape? Is it the color? Is it the age? Like what's the magic numbers?
Rarity. The threadless ones I think are the Confederate ones they actually had. They're real desirable. People find just pieces of them, and broken ones will sell for a lot of money.
So you said the threadless ones?
Yes, threadless are your first ones. So
and is that? Did you say is that Civil War era?
Yeah, 1850s to probably the 70s, 1870s. I think is when they start popping up. I don't know that for a fact. Like I said, I'm not an expert on glass insulators, but I am a collector, and I do have a fantastic eye, and I'm very lucky. So either way, I'll take it. So.
Do you have an example of a threadless one? I didn't know.
No, I do not. I do not even have a reproduction.
Okay.
At shows, at the big shows, they make an insulator, and people would buy them because they would hang out there for the couple days. So you'd say they make 200 of these, just like a GI Joe show. They made a special GI Joe for that show. So for example, and I do have a couple show insulators. I just picked one up. It was cobalt blue. I don't even know where the heck it is right now. But and then I have a big red one, and it has HH on it. So, that's the initial. So I bought that.
You've dropped a couple names, and this is the aqua one that I have is also Hemingway. Can you talk a little bit about who were the popular makers? And again, maybe you said scarcity makes the value go up. What names are the ones to look out for if we run into them in the wild?
Californias or Colorados, Montreals. I got a couple Canadian ones that are purple. That's a nice purple Montreal. Here's the old, I think this is Canadian Western Tel Company. I've got a couple of these. I mean, these colors pop. I mean, when you see this or you see that, you're going to go to the purple, and you're going to, because you haven't seen it, and it's cool looking, and it makes colors are big in anything you kind of collect. So those are different names. There's a Pyrex. I can't Westinghouse. If you find one of them and it's glass, you got a jewel. I mean, there's a lot of Westinghouse ceramic ones, which is right here, and then there are glass Westinghouse made of glass, and they're rare. So you find one, you get it, and you go to your car and you smile. If you see one out in the wild, as I call it. So, and then I've got some really real upscale ones. Like I said, this is a petticoat, and I think HG company. But I have this in green. I mean your regular, I guess, what is this? Aqua? Would you call that aqua green or aqua blue, something like that? I have it in this. No, that's Hemingway. I lied right there. Hold on, time out. I know I have another one. I have it in amber too. So I have it. Here it is right here. So same insulator. This one's the petticoat. That's a hard one to find, but this is harder. So, matter of fact,
is that, you said petticoat? That's the style or the shape? I
think it's a shape. They call them petticoats right on there, and it has the patent of 1893. So that doesn't mean anything, but it says petticoat right there, and it's made from the HG company. So I don't know if Hemingway made these, and it was a different thing, but they say petticoats on them, and that's what they call them. And of course, they have like a CD number on them, like this one is. We call them beehives. It's got writing on here. You can barely see it. When that writing pops out, and you can see that writing, and it's real thick, it's more desirable. You'll see amber swirls in these. They're real desirable. It seems like with insulators, they just threw whatever's left and they just start throwing it in the bowl. You'll see melt glass. You'll see chunks that looks like rock. You'll see a real bubbly. People like those. But this is a CD 145. So there's CD, all different types. And
that was a question that came up, and it just jumped. Now I can't remember who asked the question, but you meant it was earlier. You talked about those numbers and the CD numbers. So what is this? What does CD stand for? And then I know we talked a little bit before we started that there are ranges. Like so,
1 to 90 was.
So 10 to 99 are battery rest insulators. But what does the CD stand for?
I'm not quite sure what the CD stands for. If you Google it, that's where
so it's a consolidated design. It's a consolidated design number.
There you go.
And then if you Google it, what pops up is there's a website called insulators.info, and it just shows that the range, it's either battery rest insulators, then North American thread type, foreign thread type, North American threadless, and obsolete foreign pin type. So and most of the ones that you had were in the. Well, what's the most common one that you have? Are they the battery rest? I don't even know what a battery rest insulator.
No, they're the next step up.
Okay, so North American threaded.
Yeah, they're the North American threaded.
So those are 3 digits.
Right.
Is there value difference between something that because the Hemingway that I have is it just has the number 19 on it. So this evidently was a battery rest insulator. But does that indicate value at all? Like what type of insulator it was?
No, because there, like I said, the commons, there's just so many of the same out there. It might have a 40. I have that same one that says 20, dash 20. And, but if that had some amber swirls going through it or a really bubbly look to it, it goes up. People love the amber swirls, and you'll see them. Or milky swirls are even better. I mean, it looks like that opalescent glass. You got that milky swirl going through there. It's pretty cool looking. You think, wow, that's and there's air ones too. Like Here's one here. It's a beehive. It's a Hewley, PA, and the S is backwards. So I don't know if you can see that. So I didn't even know. There it is, USA. That S is backwards.
Oh, wow.
So that I didn't even notice. Dude seen my video and he goes, dude, you got an error one and the S is backwards. So I said, how about that? So because that was full black. I have a thing where I showed you how to clean them. There's better videos out there. I just get on there and be and silly. I just want to clean them, but that's that bar friend's helper or
barkeeper's friend.
Yeah, barkeeper's friend. I just put it in a bucket because of somebody on YouTube, and it gets that's a diesel black that gets on there, and you will not get it off unless you use that scouring pad and let them sit in that bucket for a couple days with that water and the solution. Don't come in and run hot water on them either because you'll crack them. I found that out too at one time. So, oops.
We all learn. Now, you had mentioned earlier the Westinghouse glass ones would be the ones to be on the lookout for. You know, that they're more rare. We're in the era of how they were made? Are the glass ones older than the pottery and the porcelain, or did they all interchange?
No, the glass came before the porcelain. The porcelain's up there now. They're still making those. So you'll see the ceramic, even on the power lines, you'll see these big blue jobbers that are like disc, and they're hanging on power lines. They're porcelain, or because sometimes you'll see that they're in boxes on the ground that they might have had extras. I used to ride motorcycles when I was a kid up and down power lines, so you would see that stuff. So they still use them with metal in between. Now the old ones, there's older ones with glass that people like. I think they're just too huge. Where are you going to put that on your shelf? Is these big monster glass discs with metal in between. But they're desirable. I just don't. I like the little. This is about as big as I get. I just got a box full of these when I just bought that lot a few weeks ago of all the different insulators. I bought the guy's collection out. And that's another cable, and that's about the biggest one I have. One piece right now. That's authentic.
One of the questions that's coming in from Sandra K. She's, I'm assuming she's meaning like damaged, cracked, as opposed to crackled, because someone was talking about crackled glass. But in general, is there any value to the insulators when there's damage to them? Because I know that the one that I have, I needed to pick up something so I could hold it during our little deep dive. So my Hemingway 19 has a chip, basically it's sheared off. There's damage, and then also damage on the teeth on the bottom. Is there any value to these unless you're getting into the super rare ones, or do people still just want to collect them for the color and shape and they ignore the damage?
That I believe puts that at still $1. This one here's damaged, but it's rare and it's desirable. As you can see, these are hard to find that aren't, and you'll see where the glass is bruised, and some of them have cracked. But instead of this being the $400 or $250, now it's $100 one probably, but it's still desirable because you won't find these. I mean, you will, but you won't. They're hard to find. So it's just like any glass or anything. Damage is going to definitely take off value unless there's only one or two of them out there. So rarity, it's all about rarity is what things are worth, and will somebody just skip by the damage to say, hey, I want that. So,
and when you're talking about this, so glass was the oldest, then they started moving into maybe ceramic and then into the current porcelain. The one I've got, the ceramic one I've got, is dated 1928. Mm-hmm. At what point did glass start basically go away? Like what era did glass continue into versus at what point did the ceramic and porcelain start kicking in?
I'm not positive, but I bet you these are from the 50s.
Okay.
I think your ceramic one that you have a date on is more like the patent date, like the 1858 Mason. I think just like a lot of these have dates on, like this petticoat. Like I said, it says 1892 or whatever.
And they just never changed the mold?
Nah, that's just that when they patented at that time, and then they made them so many years after. Now these ones were desirable, so desirable, but guys were climbing up and taking them off the poles. So the guys that started working on this stuff, went up there and busted the bottoms out of all these so people would stop taking them off the lines because they got tired of fixing stuff when people were stealing these. So
Wow.
that's
Now,
how.
Katie is asking, is there a way to tell, say there is something that's been dated for that long, is there a way when you're looking at a piece, maybe particularly the glass ones, one that would be from the late 19th century versus one that's from the 50s? Is there a way to tell?
I don't think, yeah, well, you're going to see this style is the 50s. They didn't keep, I bet if they started these when they invented this and put that patent on there, this probably was used to the 20s or 30s. So that style went away. This style was the last of the style, the glass insulator that I know of, I would say. And there's no patent dates on these. These just say, they're the Armstrongs made in the USA now. That even might be a date on there. It's 1952. So they have a 52 on there sometimes, like on the bottom of Coke bottles. There's dates, or they're on the sides of the old green ones and the town they're from. So
now, all of the ones that you've mentioned, other than the Canadian ones, all the ones you've mentioned have been made in the USA. Are there any that were made outside the USA, or was this just something that was utilitarian and always made locally?
No, Mexico had their own. Europeans.
But here in the United States, we would primarily only be finding made in the USA ones.
Yeah, you're going to find U.S. and Canada. You're going to start running into the Canadian lines. I don't think they came in and we didn't go in. They might have bought Hemingway, whoever owned that glass factory might have made them for the Canadians, but they put their own name in there. Now, where they're made and all that detailed, I can't get into that because I don't know it. My big thing is just knowing what's in that box or standing on a table, 2 tables over, and trying to get the fastest way I can get over there to grab it. So that's what
would you say the most valuable one in your collection is right now?
There's no doubt. This one's a great story because to me it is. I seen a box of insulators on Facebook Marketplace. So I said, I could see these. There was probably 10 in the box with a few ceramics. These 2 are in there, and I only see the top part, but I know the shape. So, and I'm thinking they're diamonds, I call them. They're little diamond ones. I didn't realize what I had when I went there until I picked them up. So you can tell the difference between, I can see that a mile away. I can see these ones a mile away. This has got a different top, and this has color. This one's like a holy grail. This is no doubt. This is a great one, a couple $100 one, and these are in great shape too. There's no dings or bangs, or they could use a little bit more cleaning, but I'm scared, especially on this. I'm not cracking it. This, when I got it, and I posted it on Instagram, I got a message from an insulator collector telling me to hide it. Because he said people would break into my house to get it, because he said he never seen one like it. He knew what it was as soon as he seen it. And I knew it was something special. I just didn't know that it was a holy grail. And it actually, some of these insulators go for thousands and thousands of dollars. I don't know how much this will go for, but it's a pretty valuable piece. It's probably the most valuable thing that I have that I collect out of everything I have. Coleman lanterns, a couple shotguns, old bottles, Hot Wheels, and I've got a lot of valuable stuff, but this one is like the king.
Now, you can pick up the other olive green one that you got with it. You said that one's only a few $100s. So what's the difference between the two? That, like, just through this camera, it's kind of hard. But
this is a mustard gold. This is like a mustard gold. You can see you'll see a good color of this when there's the greener. That's that's like a green. These say their patent date's 1871 on these now.
And is there a maker's name?
Guy only this? What I can't understand is how he got these 2. Was say a couple Hemingways and just a couple regular ones. He had these 2 in there. It still blows me away that. And he only had like 10, but he had this one in there. It's just, That
And
was
is there a maker's name on that one?
no. These are Brookfields. I'm pretty sure. Matter
Brookfield.
of fact, I'm almost positive these are Brookfields. I have. This is a CD 126. Matter of fact, and I have a green one that protrudes. I've got some good embossing on there, I guess you would call it. So that.
So it seems like we're trying to make a magic puzzle out of all of the different combinations. So is Brookfield as a name particularly valuable, or is it just because it's now that shape and then that color?
Now, Brookfield Hemingways are the most, and the Armstrongs is the names you'll see out there the most. So.
Okay, so they're common.
They have rare ones like that, and then they have the common ones like the Hemingway here and regular Brookfield. I've got them on shelves here. I did not bring them all out because I tried to keep the special ones out here. Like this one, there's a funky one. I think that's a Hemingway. It's just another number Hemingway. There's Postal. That's one. You can't see it, but this has the good brown swirls in there, and they're hard for you to see on because of my lighting stinks.
And what was the brand on that one again?
This one here is a Postal. It's not. I have the same exact one that has Postal on it, and this is a Postal. That's what I'm thinking. Here's a name, and these are harder to. That's a Lynchburg. So there's several different Lynchburgs out there. Now they go up a little bit more into the 20s and the 30s and the 40s and 50s if you're price matching. And they've made several different kinds. I've got probably 7 different Lynchburgs. So they make different ones. There's a lot of cool stuff out there. 7-Up greens are cool colors like that. That's a little New York on there, USA. Probably a Brookfield or something like that. But this was a cool one that I just picked up. There's a Hemingway right there, and that's like a fire. That's like an amber reddish, and this came from the collection I just picked up, along with an amethyst, I guess this is, or purplish California. That was in there. So I said, "This is great."
And Sandra K is saying she's got a crackled glass purple one. Is the purple a rare color? You showed purple already, but
yes, purple's more desirable. I mean, it's not cobalt blue is a big color. That golden amber, that like I showed you, that real valuable one I have. That's a rare color. But purple's an amethyst, and there's whites, and then you get these off colors. Like, what is that color? If you've seen it up, you'd say, well, that's got a little pinkish going in there. It looks clear, but it's not clear because there's a difference between clear and then this one that's got a little off color to it.
You mentioned white. Are those milk glass, or are they? What would the white ones be?
I mean clear. I'm sorry. Clear.
Oh, okay. Did they make them in milk glass?
Yes, they. I have one. If you want to see that, I got to run back to the.
No, that's okay.
It just takes 1 second.
Okay.
They're right here. I mean,
it gives me a chance to. The chat flew by a little bit, so I'm like backing up to make sure the ones that I'm missing. So I think Drifter left. So he was asking if you're collecting from other countries. So you had the ones from Canada, but because you're on the kind of the East Coast, Mid-Atlantic area. Delaware. So you're pretty much just doing. You don't travel to find them. You're getting them from Facebook Marketplace. Did you say you get a lot of these?
Yard sales, Facebook,
the local
place, Craigslist.
Okay.
I go into Pennsylvania mostly to pick these up. The Pennsylvania is like a gold mine for glass. It just is. It's that Philadelphia area. There's a ton of it. So that's where I go. If anything's milk glass, it's right there.
Oh wow!
And that one I just cleaned up. That came from the collection I just required because this is definitely. Either enamel or the porcelain.
Mm-hmm.
But this is definitely milk glass. It's got the swirls going in it, if you could see them.
And where do those fall in the collectability price range, rarity?
$20. I looked it up. This one's perfect shape. It's got its little drip points. I never seen it until when I cleaned it up. I kind of looked at it and said, well, that doesn't look porcelain or anything. And it was black. I stuck it in the bucket for the night and it wiped right down the next day. So they're easy to clean, the clear and the melt glassy. But I don't know. That's the only one I've seen of melt glass. It looks like that one there. So.
Now, the one color we haven't, I don't think you've shown or we've talked about, did they make them in the ruby red or the cranberry red glass?
The red, I've heard, is not original. That one that I had, that big one, is red. But
okay.
There is a red desirable one that's like this. That's a $20,000. It's not ruby red, but they're calling it red. And I was looking at where these fall in the price range because that guy sent me the price range of these. This was under the red, so the red was 20,000, and this one went from another range.
Wow!
Because this has that gold mustard look that people like. It's not a $20,000 insulator. If I got 8,000 for it, I'd still be tickled pink. But if I got 1,000, I wouldn't be surprised. So, matter of fact, I would expect it to be around that and higher. So. That's where I would put it at. And I've seen them go at, I think it's Bill and Jill's auction. And there's Pole Finds. These are two big auctions. If you go Google your glass insulator auctions, those two come up and you can see prices of what these things go for. And or even if you went to eBay and you put highest to low on ones that sold, you're going to see $5,000 to $6,000 insulators that have sold on eBay. You'll definitely see them over on the other sites where they have those auctions. So that kind of blows you away.
Amazing. Now, as I was scanning through some of the comments, I did miss one. You had mentioned, this was obviously an older one, you had mentioned at one point conventions. At what era were the conventions, and the ones that they were making, are those modern reproductions? Like, what exactly are the ones from the convention, and are they marked? So Katie had that question about are the convention ones marked?
Yeah, they're you'll know. It'll say I have one that's Chicago. It's like 2002 or something. So
these are modern conventions.
Oh yeah, they're still
for the collectors. Okay.
The COVID is not like I was going to go to my first insulator show last year to Gettysburg, PA, which is a couple hours away, but COVID knocked it out. So and there's nothing close by this year. People are having them. They're definitely having them in Ohio and Illinois. Somebody just had one in Connecticut because I see the pictures come over Facebook of this stuff. So, but some of those convention ones can go big bucks. I mean, I've seen them up to $300. So they're desirable too. People collect those. So
I mean, you may not know the answer to this, but like, how many would they have made? I mean, how many people attend these conventions? There can't be that many of them out there, would there? I bet you
that they have 500 to 1,000, according to how big that convention is. But there's not many out there, like you're saying. So collectors want them. I'll tell you a story. 2 years ago, I think it was, is where I got a call at work, and the guy said a guy's son passed away, and he's got a massive insulator collection. So I have a video on when I went to this place. And when I got there, I went by myself just to see what this dude had. And he's got telephone poles in his yard and all these railroad signs and railroad boxes and all these power lines full of insulators. Even his mailbox had the mailbox, something, fire mail, and up top he had air mail with insulators all over this thing. I got in his house. It was all insulators. It's a big farmhouse. He takes me outside to a barn, and there's nothing but 1,000 5-gallon bucket full of insulators. Then there's a tractor and trailer that's full of all boxes. This dude had thousands and thousands. So I bought a few that day and went home and told the guys that I know that were big collectors. And they went out there thinking they were going to buy the collection. Well, when they got out there, they were blown away. And we didn't even put a dent in it. Somebody came in and bought the whole collection, but it wasn't us. But it was, and he had threadless. and he had shelves of all the convention ones. So he was a big name in the insulator collecting circles. So whoever, I forget what his name was, but he was huge, and it was unbelievable all the stuff he had.
Wow.
It blew me away. So.
One of the questions that came in from Mary Royer, we've touched on it in different angles, but she's actually kind of asking it in an interesting way. She's saying were the like different regions or different states were they made in certain colors, or did certain companies specialize in certain colors? Like, will you ever come across a purple that was a Hemingway or whatever? Did certain companies limit themselves to certain colors or region?
I think it was lines. I think all the colors were to do with the lines they ran. So somebody's line ran, say Bell Telephone might have had all Hemingway greens and whites, and then here comes in North Pacific, they might have had the purples and the browns. It's different colors for different lines.
So one pole could actually have multiple colors.
Oh yeah, because there's different lines running on that pole, and that's where you found them. I was at a house where I just picked up a what the heck did I just pick up from this guy? Oh, the big giant Christmas tree, ceramic one of them 24-inch ones. But he said, I said, do you have glass insulators? And he goes, you got to be kidding me. He says, see back there? He grew up in the house, and this was in Pennsylvania, a town called Chichester. That's the first exit into Pennsylvania from Delaware. He said that whole line there is railroads behind his house. He said as a kid, he'd walk as far as you could see and just constantly pick up hundreds of insulators. And at the time, he couldn't get rid of them. Nobody wanted them. I said, man, oh man, I don't know what he eventually did. I think he might even threw them out. And he said he had all the different colors. So they were definitely on them railroad tracks back there.
So from a functional standpoint, because Melinda also commented a similar story. So, okay, fine. They're dumping the old ones onto the ground, and that's what you can pick up later. But what would cause them to replace it? Was it they were damaged? Was it the line got damaged and they just upgraded them all and threw the old ones down? Why would they be replacing them?
Well, sometimes probably storms took them out, but the big thing is the upgrade. You got metal poles along there now on a lot of these railroad tracks, and they've upgraded the tracks. So they've moved the whole track. So here's the old line over here where they just threw the poles down, and they might have thrown them in a pile, and the insulators, they were just dumped on the ground or buried in a pit. And then that's how that one dude got all those buckets. He says, I want them. And the people that were working on the railroad track said, if you take them, you have to take them all. So he did. He put them all in the barn. So that's how he got them. He had trucks and trucks and truckloads of them coming home of the different insulators. So it was crazy. Yeah, but it's definitely it's an upgrade that did away with a lot of that stuff. If you see old lines, I guess in the Poconos, like I said, there's old trains that run in the Poconos in that Jim Thorpe area, it's called, and you'll go by all that stuff up in the mountains and stuff where these lines aren't, but the poles are still there and the old railroad tracks and stuff that aren't used. So they're out there.
That's great. Well, we've got so I appreciate everyone coming up with some great questions. I've learned a ton. Before we run out of time, I wanted to make sure, I think you showed a good chunk of what you brought out, but what would you say your favorite item is in your own personal collection?
It's the two big boys. This one blew me away. I knew this was something, and this gave me the disease because I'm more of a collector than a seller. I could talk antiques all day. That right there started it, and then of course the new jewel. The best one. I mean, it's just awesome to know you have something that's so rare and you have it as a collector. That's what you strive for as a collector. I did is always, I've got the best collection, or at least I'm up there with the big boys now. And that, I think I am in Delaware anyway. There's some great stuff out there, but for my small time being back into this, and here's what, 30 or 40 on here, but I've got hundreds of them now. I got a lot more than my wife wants me to have. So,
and from talking to the other collectors and seeing what's out there, do you have kind of a holy grail item that you're on the hunt for, other than a threadless one?
Oh yeah, a couple of the other cobalts. Oh God, there's so many I want though. I want the topper to that one big one I have that's coned. If you watch the last 2 videos I made on glass insulators where I just picked up and bought a guy's collection, and you'll see in that picture he sent me. He told me what he wanted for the collection. I'll tell you what, I paid $500 for like boxes and boxes and boxes of them. So it come out to probably about $1 a piece if you look at it, or even less. So there's a cone shaped glass one that goes up to a cone's hole all the way through. All it is a stand. I don't know how it's set up in the air, but it's a 2-piece. And it's a Hemingway. And it's got the big Hemingway that sits on top. I will get that Hemingway. They're a couple $100, or I could probably get it for $50 if I keep looking or go to one of these shows. That's where I will pick it up. But I pretty much, and I have pretty much everything now. I'm trying to think of what, probably a threadless, maybe a couple of the very first ones, but they're $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 insulators when you get going like that. So you would have to. You're not going to find them in a while. That's very doubtful.
Wow. So. Now, you said you were going to go to your first convention last year. Do they just have like one annual convention, or do they do regional conventions?
Well, that was a show. That was a show.
Oh, that was a show. Okay.
Yeah. They have them all over. That's what they're doing now. The convention is probably the big boys. That's what the guy called me about. And, well, he's sending me texts on Instagram. He says, there is a convention. He says, do you know, congratulations, first of all. Do you know what you just picked up? I'm going, yeah, I know it's a good one. I already knew it, but I didn't know how good. And he goes, then he starts sending me the price list, and he says, I think, and he circled one that he thinks I have. And he goes, there is a show that is close. People from all over the United States will be going to this show. They will not have any problem coming into your house and taking that and showing up a show and selling it. And they would never ask any questions. I go, well, the guy was a little off on that. I'm not afraid of somebody breaking in my house to take my insulator. So,
I mean, maybe you can watch the bluegrass picker. Delaware's not a big state, bluegrass, so it may not be hard to find him. But
he knows me. Me and him do shows. We top tens together. So he's one of my buddies. Great guy.
Well, Katie just dropped your link again in the chat. So as Bluegrass reminded everyone to go ahead and subscribe to Harry. So we'll go ahead and start wrapping things up. Harry's got some great content, some great videos he's in a great area. So you can find all kinds of great stuff. And sometimes he just does some of his little live hanging out with Harry. What did you have last night or the night before was your favorite top 10? Was it top 10 favorite foods?
Top 10's country, the top 10 food, country's food in the world. Like here's the Greek foods, number 9. Number 1, of course, was Italy, and crazy. But
yeah, so all kinds of fun stuff on Harry's channel, way beyond insulators. But I knew I was picking the right guy when I asked him to do this because I've learned a lot. I hope you guys have all learned a lot. We've got Cindy from Pennsylvania is loving Delaware. So you've got some Delaware love. The fighting blue hens. Everyone's got to love Delaware because their University of Delaware mascot, for those who did not know, is the fighting blue hen, which I find hilarious. But anyway, appreciate and LaDonna said, make sure, good thing you've got a shotgun collection too. So you can protect your insulators.
I have a dog.
So I appreciate Bluegrass information and humor. It's rare on YouTube. So hope you both me and Harry. So I try my best as well. But this is definitely a case. I picked these insulators up. They will probably now go into one of my live sales because I'm not building an insulator collection, but I'm really kind of excited to go back out looking because now I feel like I'm going to have a better idea of what I'm looking for. When I picked up I think this was the first one I picked up. I think this was the only one there. So I'm like, I don't have an insulator. Harry's going to talk about things I don't know. I need to buy one. So I just bought this one, damaged and all. I don't usually buy damaged stuff, but bought that, paid $1 for it. But then when I picked up this one, there were probably about 20 on the shelf and they were all the exact same price. And I'm like, damn it, how do I know which one to buy? So I like pottery and porcelain. So I picked up the pottery one. he might stay in my collection because I think he'd look pretty good with my salt glaze collection. But
people do call them pottery ones too. In fact,
yeah, I would say this one. I don't think this is porcelain, but the thread, it makes me question it. So it was kind of a fun one to find.
Yeah.
It's definitely got the brown glaze. And now I feel like I should go back to that shelf and say, okay, now if I look at the other 19 that are left over, was there a better one to pick? Because I'm feeling the fact that if they were all marked at the same price, maybe they're equally common, but I'm wondering if it was somebody that just picked them up and didn't know the difference. So I think that's kind of like finding the golden egg.
Yeah. A big thing, if anybody has questions, I'm on Instagram. Just ting me. I'll try my best to help you.
Nate had dropped your link on Instagram as well, but it's jamdad_. Yeah. But I think you can find you on. I feel like if you search for Harry Humstone, I think you come up under that way too. But it's jamdad_ is the actual name of the channel. So if Katie or if Nate or one of my moderators, if you want to drop the Instagram link in there too, definitely follow Harry on Instagram and on YouTube. And if you're new to my channel, I think some of you came because Harry was here. Subscribe to me too. So if you're already on my YouTube channel, go ahead and hit subscribe. I am THMercantile on Instagram for Trusty Huckster Mercantile. So appreciate everyone coming and hanging out. I hope you all learned as much as I did. I'm like really excited to find another insulator. May not buy it, but at least I'll feel better when I look at it and I'll know what I'm looking at. So appreciate again. Thanks for giving me your time, Harry. Thanks for all of you who joined the chat, particularly here on Mother's Day. So to all of the mothers, happy Mother's Day. I appreciate that you gave us some of your time this evening, and I hope you had fun, and I hope you did learn something about it. So thanks again, everybody. Thanks for giving us your time, putting your trust in Trusty Huckster. Have a great night. Bye-bye.